we're going to make it, I think, right? We're going to be all right.
You actually sounded a little serious there. I actually believe you for it. Usually your tones are like, you're selling it as best as you can, but it's just not landing. But that one,
you thought so?
Wasn't bad.
Okay, I did my best. So
is back in Boston.
Yeah. So that's it. Hitting the road for 4. This was expected to be an easy win. It was an easy win. That was good. I guess, everyone's going to ask, what can you take out of a game like this when they play a depleted team that, you fully expect to win the game? I guess I'm pretty happy that they can blow teams out, because we were talking about it's going to be hard to walk into any building right now and just win. In the Eastern Conference, there's a lot more competition. And is this team good enough to just be able to just show up and win? And they did more than just show up. They played well. But, this was over extremely early, and that was definitely encouraging.
Yeah, I think it was also very important for them to do that because it was the second night of a back-to-back, right? Away and home,
Yep.
A long time since they've done something like that. Brad Stevens talked about how much he enjoyed those extra days in the city when you're playing on those second. Like he loves the whole, two games in one city, 4 games, 2 days and 4 and 2 games in 4 days, and now that challenge, you see that they're able to succeed. And obviously the 3-pointers went a long way, but man, when they're falling, I know it's obviously when you say that, but when they're falling, you just really see how they can demoralize the team, and then the D picks up. It almost like it triggers people to defend even at a higher level, and that's exactly what we saw from Jalen Brown. Man, what a first half! Incredible, 26 points. He ends up with 42 career high. What he's able to do, we know what he's able to do in transition, but I love when he's going in the half-court set, down the middle, slicing through defenders. That's the Jalen that makes you think, wait a minute, this guy can really, really be explosive, can be dangerous, sort of, reach that plateau when you're like, wait a minute, no team can stop this because Jalen Brown's already efficient on his own. Like in a regular shooting night, he's not bad when it comes to shooting anywhere between 40 to 50%, let's say, right? It's very rare you see Jalen go below that. So when he's really on, he's really on. And for Jason Tatum to sort of, let him do his thing. And I don't mean that as in like he allowed this to happen, but you know what I mean? Like to see those two sort of blend together, both got it going from behind the arc. The chemistry obviously looked great. Everyone was in the fold. He was also being a playmaker as well, looking for guys, getting guys open looks. It was great. It was great basketball. Exactly what you want to see from Jalen Brown. Yeah, it was against the Memphis Grizzlies. Yeah, John Morant didn't play. This team did just beat the Brooklyn Nets when Karis LeVert was really cooking, and I thought that was a good display of what they can do, at least defensively. And obviously you knew the Celtics were favored in this one, but I just thought the Celtics didn't let up. Typically we've seen this so many times where they give up a big lead and they come right back and then crush a team in the second half. No, it was solid throughout.
Yeah, we're talking with Brown right now. We're talking about the most efficient player in the NBA through 5 games and doing it at every level. He's got the production at the rim. He's about a 55% shooter from mid-range right now. And from the 3, he's pushing back above 30% there now with the 7 to 10 night. So he can hit shots at every level. This is like the peak of Jalen Brown's potential that I think we possibly could have imagined when he got drafted that year. A guy that can handle, create his own shot, produce for others as he did tonight, the great full court pass to Tatum that he had there, and the defense is a given with him. So all of a sudden we're asking, does this guy have, second team all NBA Tatum level production in him? I never ruled out the fact of him at least matching Tatum's ability, but forget this game. It's the Grizzlies. 42 against them doesn't mean much, but if we're looking at the whole package this year, against a bunch of different types of defenses, Indiana especially, he's not able to be stopped right now, and the efficiency is just mind-blowing.
Yeah, that's the thing. When we were talking a little last game, and hi, Jimmy.
Right, yeah, what's up, Jimmy? But Bobby, people sleep on it, though.
We were talking a little bit last game about Jalen, and I think people in the comments took it as if we were being negative, and we weren't. What we were saying was, it's amazing how Jalen just had 20 points, and it looked like he barely touched the ball. His usage was so low last game, and that's how efficient he's been. And that's what at times you're like, why isn't the ball in his hands more? Because if he can play this efficiently, this is ridiculous. You're not going to shoot the lights out like this, but the game looks so slow for him right now. He's just so comfortable when he gets it in. And sure, he's had a few dribble off the knee moments, but these guys are still pretty rusty with no training camp. he's able to get into traffic and into places and get wherever he wants on the court, just really smooth and slow. The up fakes, getting the shot off when he does drive and not just going up wild and trying to just yoke it on everybody. He
he used to do that a lot. Yeah,
right, a lot. And now you see how many times has he gone into somebody's body, gotten them back, get them to go up a little, and he just waits on it, and the patience, and he lays it up and in. So many of those things, and the jumper is just, it looks so freaking good.
That mid-ranger is beautiful right now.
It's unbelievable. And the space he's able to create, he gets in the lane, and he can just get that little jumper if he wants it almost any time. So it's amazing.
Schedule though, right? I mean, let's think about it. He's continued to progress his game year after year. I mean, this is the next step, right?
But that's what we talked about last year. Last year, he took 2 steps in season, one to start the season and then another, so that's right. He's almost, and then we were worried about that, right? Let's let Jimmy jump in here, but we were a little worried, Jimmy, that not worried, but
yeah, I wasn't worried, man. That's the last thing I wanted to getting into this one, I was like, wait a minute, he's gonna go off against the Grizzlies.
But the whole season, the offseason we're talking about, you need Tatum and Jalen to take a big leap with Hayward gone and Kemba slow in order for this team to get to another level. And we were worried that, how much of a leap can they take? They've only had a month off. They're going to be the same guys we saw. And again, I don't know what you see after 5 games here, Jimmy, but, it looks like Jalen has again taken another leap.
Yeah, so I gotta apologize for being a couple minutes late. The reason I had to actually
apology, Cam.
I had to hop in the shower after that game because Jalen Brown had me sweating. He had me sweating. The shots he was hitting, the drives, the threes. I was drenched, so I had to shower off real quick before I got on set here. But listen, and I hinted at this last night. I threw it in there towards the end of the show after another what I thought was a solid Jalen Brown performance. I was like, and I don't want to pit these two guys against each other because that's not what it's all about. Like John said, you need them both. You need them both to be even better than they are now because of what we're seeing from the other 12 guys.
You just sort of mentioned this, though. Yeah, you did.
But I casually said, who would you rather go to war with? Who would you rather go to war with right now? Jalen Brown or Jason Tatum? And this is what I said last night. I'm not saying it now because he just had a career-high night. And again, I know Jason Tatum's going to have his nights too. But Jalen Brown's just showed me something since the bubble where it's this guy checks off almost every box when it comes to leadership, intangibles on the court, off the court,
right,
outside shot, skill. He's improved his ball handling. His defense has been more than, above average. It's been great. He can play multiple positions, right? And that's not, again, it's not a slight at Jason Tatum. It's not pitting them against each other, but it's just you can see the leaps and bounds that Jalen Brown has taken here. And I will never forget draft night. I was in the TD Garden. We were doing a version of this, the Garden Report. You can probably find it on YouTube somewhere. It was me, Jared Weiss, and Kevin O'Connor from The Ringer. And this was before The Ringer had
Kevin really liked Jalen, didn't he?
He loved him. And we all loved him. Me, Jared, and Kevin loved him. But the Garden, and it was all suits
they
there.
They were so mad,
booing like crazy, and it was too bad. But they weren't really booing because it was Jalen. They were booing because they wanted fireworks. They wanted a trade. They wanted, they didn't. They weren't.
It was the drop because it was the Simmons Ingram draft, and just getting the 3 pick was such a gut punch because you knew there was a drop off there, and you wanted to swing the pick for a player. And Jalen was the one where they were trying to talk us into him, and everyone
felt like they were settling for him. But I think Danny Ainge really did like him, and there was.
But you saw him in the tournament with Cal. He looked. You could barely notice him. He came in with not a lot of shine.
Yeah, he didn't have a great college year, and the high school.
Wait, hold on, Bobby, real quick. But Jimmy, you guys were high on him then.
We liked the pick. We weren't they got to go out and get him, but we were totally fine with that pick. We saw the upside. People were using the fact that he wasn't just only about basketball. The story on Jalen Brown coming in the NBA was that it's no surprises how this type of guy he is, how he's interested in politics, social justice, things off the basketball court. That was almost used as a knock against him. Oh well, this guy. He might not even really like basketball.
When did you care about basketball enough? Yeah,
exactly. We were like, dude.
It's like the Josh Rosen thing.
But see, the way I saw it was,
yeah. Well, that didn't work out for Josh Rosen, but
no, but I mean, let's just be thankful they didn't take Dragan Bender. I was a Jamal Murray guy that draft,
which would have been good too
because he was a polished scorer, and I loved that.
Right.
But my God, I felt like we were going to take Bender, and oh boy, would that have been something, you know?
I always thought because of his body size
and
the upside he had on defense that they were going to pick Jalen, right? I mean, like,
Danny wanted a wing so bad.
Too. Like, you saw the sort of like he's a Brad guy, like he can get it done on the defensive end because of his athleticism, and
I thought it was a force because we wanted the athletic wing so bad. I thought Danny wanted that athletic wing so bad that he's like, that's the best one out there. I'm taking him regardless. And it felt like a force then, you know?
Right.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. And it did for a couple of years as a Celtic where you're like, this guy lacks polish. Like, is this guy ever going to get there? For a couple of years, you're like, good, he's a nice little athlete, but he's sloppy, you know. Like I never saw this level of progression. I didn't think his ceiling would be this high. Everyone was saying, just wait, he'll get better. I'm like, I didn't see it in the early going. I don't know if you guys did.
That first year was tough when he got buried behind Jay Crowder and all the different wings that they had on that team. I think Gerald Green was even above him in that rotation. Once
John's favorite.
The key for him was that first year, 2018, where he boosted above Hayward with that injury. Crowder got traded in the Kyrie trade, and all of a sudden by playoff time, he was in a frontman position this team. And that run, especially that Philly series that he had, where he hurt the hamstring and came back and was scoring 20 points every game, using the lethal transition game to his advantage, and starting with defense. I mean, he just became such a polished, hardened defender in this league from the earliest days, and didn't worry too much about the offensive game. You know, let some of the other guys like Isaiah handle that initially, and Terry Rozier and others that second year. So he mastered that end of the floor and used the transition game to open up his offense. And now, you know, you saw in that third year, he started adding the dribbles and that Rising Stars game. And like every single year, he just pieces it together one by one. Like there's such like a small steps progression with him where he wasn't trying to, you know, focus on everything or the shot too much right away. He was just kind of building it up piece by piece. And it's been a great way for him to get to this point. And like I listen to Goodman.
And it all culminated in a 5th place finish for Team USA.
Well, I gotta do this to Jeff.
I don't know how you went through that whole resume without mentioning Team USA.
Well,
I thought for sure you were going to come back to that.
He only mentions Team USA when Miles Turner's in the conversation.
Well, Miles Turner pulled him
he'll
down.
bring him over. Yeah, bring that team up quick.
It's real quick. Miles Turner, not to laud the accomplishments of anyone else.
I want to do this to Jeff Goodman too, because the story's not over for this year, but he came out on this network and was like, this guy's not a number 2. I don't know if he can get it done.
Bobby's not going to forget this.
Well, he did it last year, a year ago.
A year ago,
he did it last year, but without the pressure of being a 2. It's a different game. What I think it was without the Kemba crutch. Because, like, look at it the last year. There was no pressure for anybody to be a 2, really, at any point in time, because one of 4 players on the court at any point in time could score 30 points. So you could have the off night or defer or not, like, you know, not be in the flow of things, or not, your shots just not falling, and it didn't matter. But now you can't, like, there can't be too many Jalen off nights or Jason off nights, because the rest of the offense will have a hard time if those guys are struggling, or one of the 2. You could struggle last year. So I think that's what Jeff was trying to say, to play devil's advocate there, that the pressure it's on you now. You've got to be a 1A all the time. You can't have these games where you know.
Yeah, fair enough. The dribbling, the creation.
More like that's the story. That's the narrative. Like,
you have to be the guy. I think that's what Jeff was saying. I think he's ready to just take it and go. You know, to be the McCollum to the Dame. You know, like that kind of like the 1 and the 1A sort of thing.
Yeah, and he's fortunate. He's fortunate that he's not in that Tatum position where he has to facilitate all game long. Like, you know, we're gonna do the Tatum Brown thing all year long, but you do have to give Tatum the credit for jumping on the ball as much as he does, creating for the offense as consistently as he has to do. And we've seen him go through his ups and downs earlier this year in that role. It allows Brown to kind of, you know, go one-on-one on the sidelines and get some of those isolation tries that he does. So you put it all in context here, but I want to give credit to Marcus Smart. Because what did we say all postseason? Is Brown ever going to be able to get past Smart shooting? Like, is he ever going to have the ball in his hands enough to reach this level? I think you got to credit Smart and the seat back that he's taken early this year to allow Brown to get to that position. Like Smart, minus a couple of threes tonight through 5 games, has not been his usual assertive, aggressive self. He's focused more on setting the Jays up, and now they're the indisputable 1s and 2s on this team, and it happened so much faster than I think we could have expected.
Yeah, and he's letting his Smart's letting his offense come into the flow. He had the couple of back-to-back threes there, and then the heat check. But he did chuck 9 threes tonight. It was kind of a loose game, but you're right. He's taken. We were worried that that was going to be an every night occurrence. Today he was a little bit shooty, but that's fine.
Chuck, though,
4 for 9 though. I mean,
I don't think all
he's
9
fine. He was effective. He's efficient.
I don't know if all 9 were chucked. I don't know, John.
Yeah, he was catching and shooting in the corners.
It was all within the flow.
In the flow. I like when he does that.
I like the way Marcus played tonight. As far as the Jalen thing, again, just to put a bow on it, phenomenal game. It is great when you have the Tatum Brown debate, and it's just which one of these guys is the awesomest player, you know, instead of worrying that one's not carrying the water or not living up to number 2 hype, or Tatum not living up to number 1 hype. He didn't have a monster stat line. I loved Tatum tonight. Everything was in flow. It was such an easy 21 minutes. He got buckets when he needed them, when he wanted them. He facilitated. He was to plus 29 in like 21 minutes. Everything was, we were talking about it on our text chain before. I love these last 2 games that he's not just holding the ball, dribble, setting up for that kind of pull up. He is getting it and being decisive as soon as he gets the ball in his hands. I'm going to go, I'm going to shoot, I'm going to pass, I'm going to do something, but he's not fiddling with it as much. And I thought tonight he was awesome. Again, clearly outshined by Brown, but a really efficient game coming off of last game where he clearly changed. We talked about, did he change his approach? He came out in the post game and he said, I changed my approach. And he took a lot of that to heart. I'm settling for shots. I'm taking the easy way out. And the last 2 games, I thought he's been awesome.
And it goes back to what we were saying, like after, I think it was game 2, or one of the commenters was like, everything just looks harder for Smart and Brown. I mean, for Tatum and Brown. It's like they just make things look difficult for themselves out there. But it's like it's been a sort of a different story the last couple of nights. You haven't get that impression. Certainly not by watching Brown. And like you said, John, everything looked kind of like in the flow, looked easy for him tonight. He wasn't forcing things. When you can have like a quiet night and still have that type of production, that's when you know that like you're really starting to get a good feel for the game and you're comfortable out there.
Yeah. So it was our stated goal last night to not go super duper long. There's a million of these games, so we're not going to go super long. I want to move the conversation along here unless anyone's got a final thought on Jalen.
I just want to say one quick thing. I think his shot is what changed everything, honestly, right? I think the fourth defenses to come out and guard him, like that's what changed everything, guys. That's what opened up his offense. And I think
that had happened 2 years ago. All of a sudden he showed up and we're like, wow, he can shoot. You know, like that was the first step.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, that's how his offense opened up. That's how he grew.
Then the handle came last year, and now everything's really,
Yeah, but now it's different, John. Now the bubble, the leadership, I think is on a different level now. I mean, it started with the investment, the initial.
And no one's in his way.
Extension. I think that was sort of like, okay, boom, you guys have invested in me. It's not a question mark anymore. I'm here to stay. That was huge for his mindset. And then the bubble, I think, the political stuff off the court, sure, he's a leader in the entire association as a whole. But I also think that when push comes to shove, I mean, I love that question that Jimmy asked last night. Who do you rather go to war with? I think he's the guy that's more likely to get into someone's face compared to Tatum. Maybe I'm wrong, but
Tatum's just an assassin on offense.
He's a bit more fiery, though. You need someone like that, though, someone that people respect.
Yeah. But Tatum just robs you of your soul.
Barking orders,
Tatum has that hardened gene where the way he scores on you literally just takes your manhood away, and it's so demoralizing because you're like, I can't, what am I gonna do? Like he just shot it right in my friggin' face, and so that in its own really does, it is that killer thing.
I got really, but you know what championship team needs? They need someone that's gonna get in your face,
And I just want to make
all the troops.
I just want to clear up my thing. Like the whole, when I say like go to war with somebody, I don't mean like actual violence, like going to war and like battling. I mean like who do you think's gonna definitely have your back and like who's gonna show up and who's gonna fight for you and who's gonna like be consistent. Exactly.
You know what I'll throw on that, Jimmy, too? I mean, say this team ever ended up in that NBA Finals last year against that team. I mean, this is the guy who would have been going against Anthony Davis in the post, and you're talking about playing up to bigger, stronger players.
That would have been tough to see.
his defense.
That would have been.
Hey, they won that game. They won that game in January off that, and they played that team tough last year, and that's why I felt pretty good about that matchup. If they got there, was the defense he brings.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I meant actual.
You meant violence.
Like, who's gonna show up with a sword?
Like, who's gonna have my back? Yeah, like who's gonna,
I mean, more metaphorically speaking. But to your point, yeah, I mean, I think
who's the Cedric Maxwell get on my back boy sort of guy? You mean, like
yeah, exactly, that kind of thing. Yeah, kind of, just like that. Sure, but Joe Sway's point still stands.
He meant violence.
Yeah, Joe Sway's point still stands. My last thing, I think two things. I think Jalen Brown grew up. I mean, bottom line, I think not saying he was immature, but he just grew up to another level. I think like that time away in the bubble where everything going on off the court, I think that may have like taken him to another level. And I think I'm not going to hop on this, but I don't think Kyrie was great for his game, and Kyrie leaving and Jalen Brown sort of ascending at a similar time here. Maybe that had something to do with it too. Last
thing I'll say, so much was made about Gordon Hayward's departure as being for Gordon. Like he wanted to do that so he could be free and he could shoot and he could do whatever. And it's obviously working for him in Charlotte individually, as he has more freedom to kind of be that guy. But again, it might be working for Jalen too, because it's another person he doesn't have to worry about sharing with as much. It goes both ways there, which when, talking about the Goodman, can he be a number 2 thing? Part of it is almost knowing that you have to be. And now that he knows it, he can just do it freely without any, you can take 21 shots and have Tatum not take them, and that's fine in a game like this,
He's getting right into it too, early in the season. Like this is sort of like, I was hoping to see that against the Memphis Grizzlies, that you sort of saw the momentum building up. And I think after that big show, after what happened in Indiana, this was the perfect example for him to come out. And of course, Jason Tatum to maybe take a little bit of a setback, be more of a playmaker. It's the Memphis Grizzlies, not let Jalen shine a bit, and those two played off each other, on a different level.
Yeah. All right, let me move on here, because I do want to talk about it. Second straight night. Now, Rob Williams, we're some clamoring for him to start. I didn't think that was going to happen, but with Thompson out, it made sense. They weren't going to go with a 2 big lineup. They started Teague. We even theorized maybe Pritchard should have started. Teague, again, played a good game. Bobby's going to have to apologize for that in a little bit.
What do you have? A couple shots?
Every time Teague goes 10 plus.
Let me look at this. I mean, what are we talking about here?
But we're not talking about Teague. I'm just kidding.
2 assists.
I was about to pull out the shot chart right now.
He had 4 points.
He was feisty. So Rob Williams,
4 steals.
Again, insanely efficient minutes again. And it's literally everything. I mean, short of a jumper, which he doesn't have, even though when he does take it, his form looks perfectly fine when he's forced to, and his free throw stroke looks actually pretty good. But again, the playmaking is unreal for this guy on offense. And again,
that tap-out was something.
All of it. He had so many almost assists tonight as well. He just has great vision. He's such an asset. And everyone's talking about, right now there's a real conversation to be had. There's 2 conversations to be had. We're going to start with one.
MVP.
Is he the best player in the league? Question one. No.
Start there.
That's it. No, for real. But question one, again, we said at the beginning it's going to be a matchup specific sort of thing with these guys, depending on who's out there. I don't know that that's the case anymore. Tell me a situation where you don't feel like Rob Williams can be on the floor right now.
Well, Anthony Davis was one that Bobby mentioned earlier.
Well,
who should be on the floor against Anthony Davis?
Probably Thompson. Like you're still gonna have those bigger, bulky.
Take the night off.
You're still gonna have those bigger, bulkier opponents. Joel Embiid. You'd rather not have him getting isolated on him.
I know, and that happened in the playoffs, right?
Yeah, so there's a few, but you're right. If you have him with the starters, with the regulars on this team who can help him out on the defensive end when he needs it, and of course empower him on offense, it also goes back the other way. We talked about this last night: the secondary passing, the diving to the rim. What they keep talking about on the broadcast tonight, and Stevens keeps saying it, the vertical gravity.
Gravity, yep.
He pulls the guys back toward the rim because
gravity.
It's like the opposite of
New
the 3-point
stat.
gravity.
Here
Yeah,
come the
so all
basketball nerds with the new stat.
No, they love
Gravity
it.
pulled.
Well, this
Gravity
is what I
pulled per
thought.
game.
This is what I thought about last year too, with that team that was so pull-up happy. If you had this guy diving off all those pull-ups, like it's just basket after basket for him easily because of how efficient he is, how high above the rim he gets. It's just the one thing that's still missing is that switching, the perimeter play, getting out on shooters. That can devastate you. The way games swing on threes, I still see why Brad has that little bit of hesitancy with him there. But you're right. Yeah, everything else is there.
And the term, Jimmy, is roll gravity. The kids love it. Okay.
Roll gravity per
I haven't
game.
heard that.
Yeah. It just means.
Bobby will have the league leaders by tomorrow's show.
Oh, you'll have it. It'll be everywhere. It's gonna be the most. But I mean, basically, it's just you're so concerned. The same way a shooter will draw attention on the floor, he's going to draw it because everybody's freaking out when he's rolling because no one wants to get it thrown down, and you have to account for it. You're running that roll with Grant Williams. There's no fear. You run it with Rob Williams. Everyone's like, whoa, and everybody's got to worry. And it does. You can see the defense start to tense up every single time they run the high pick and roll and he starts to move. It does kind of draw a lot of attention. You saw a few times tonight where it was kind of packed in because everyone's like, uh-oh, they're going up and over me here. And his ability to just go up and get it and just friggin' ram it down, nobody wants to be in that position. So it does open things up there, and it does it causes the defense to react.
It's the poster effect, like you said. Nobody wants to be on the other end of that now. There's too much social media. They don't want to end up on House of Highlights the next morning. All of a sudden, everyone's tagging them in the post. And
it's so true. Sometimes you catch a young player just like run out of the paint.
Nobody wants that.
They don't want to be on a highlight. Yeah.
You didn't have to worry about that. You just have to worry about that one photog in the corner who got the right picture. Now it's showing up on every social media account, everyone's Twitter account. Sports Center top 10. I mean, you're the laughing stock of the league for the rest of the day. John, you did break a rule that you made before the show. You said you weren't going to mention Grant Williams' name, but you did.
I did.
So now we have to talk about it for 10 minutes. So
we're going to stick on Rob. It is amazing how these guys flip back and forth, and I think that's going to be the story of the position a little bit this year. I thought Daniel Tice was great tonight too, and all of a sudden he gained some favor there at that center spot. I don't think they're going to start Rob because I don't think he has the trust for those extended minutes yet. But I make the argument because, and you've said this, John, too, coming out of the offseason, how is he going to practice the rotations? How is he going to make the mistakes and learn from those on the defensive end? There's you get your practice time, but the only way he's really going to reach a high level doing that is getting extended run. Like even tonight, 22 minutes. That's a lot for what he's had in the past, but could he push even closer to 30 minutes in certain situations? When Tice got hurt early in the game tonight, I was like, here we go. It's going to be that 30-minute night for Rob. But, he still doesn't quite get there with the ball.
Yeah, but Bobby, he's got to get those NBA minutes in. Those reps, I think, are going to take some time, maybe a couple of months or so, because he's –
Well, that was the time to do it. Like, why not?
What else? No, I'm saying, like, in the bubble, let's think about it. Like, yeah, he was thrust into
high stakes
situations, but he never clocked in these kind of minutes. I would love to see this become the norm, but he's got to sort of work his way up there a bit. And obviously, he's going to be in the fold. There's no one there that's going to take Robert's minutes away from him. It's not one of those situations where Tice is taking it away. It's more as how much is Brad going to divvy up, because at this point, obviously, sometimes I think the new rule change that wasn't announced is going to really hurt Tice. It hurts his value. I mean, John, you joked about half of Tatum's points. What's going to happen now without those screens? But I don't know. I mean, it's a huge loss to Tice's game and what he's able to do. That was his thing.
It's not just that. It's almost like you have players who, you have certain players who have the potential to be the thing you want on this team. And Rob Williams is one of those guys. Whether he gets there or not, you don't know. That's why I mentioned like Langford or Nesmith or these guys. They have the potential to be the guys you want, but they've got to get better somehow. And with Williams, I think we're at the point where he does enough well where it's okay for him to make mistakes on the fly. Yeah. It's okay. Before you were so worried, and Brad clearly was. The fact that, a couple of months ago, he sat him for an entire playoff series because he was so petrified to have him play a single minute because of the matchup. And now you're going to play him 22 minutes a night when you have an extra competent big in Tristan Thompson there shows how much more trust Brad has in him now. And again, I just think you have to let him kind of learn on the fly a little bit. I understand a person like Nesmith, he's going to mess up the defensive rotations. He's just not ready yet. Yeah, sure, fine. He's going to
and he has 4 years. You know, Rob has 2 years left, and they're under 2 years now. Like,
yeah,
let's get it rolling. Like, he's not going to be here forever. They don't have the advantage of him being.
I do want to ask question 2 of my Rob Williams conversation. Go ahead,
one thing I like when you mentioned Tristan Thompson as well. I like what Tristan Thompson should be able to do for Rob Williams. I mean, just whether it's in practice, film, just talking, sitting on the bus, wherever they are on the plane. I mean, pick that guy's brain. He's played with the greatest player of all time. He's got a lot of information, I'm sure, to give on positioning and rotations and just things to look for. So, I mean, hopefully that's going to be a huge help for him too. But we are seeing a big difference.
I saw your special birthday post to LeBron. That was cute, bro.
Yeah, I was trying to get a couple of rise out of some people, and I did. For anyone who didn't see it, just a happy birthday to LeBron James.
Your wish happy. Did you do it at midnight? Did you do the whole thing or not?
No, it was like an hour ago. My opinion, the greatest player of all time. It's a debate for another day, but the MJ crowd and a few of my friends who we always go back and forth had a few things to say about that.
We are going to reach a point, I do believe, with Williams where it'll no longer make sense why he's not starting. Because I think every single time he's out there, his minutes are going to be the best big minutes, and we keep seeing it over and over again. I think eventually it's just going to be a thing where you're like,
someday.
Wow. I think sooner than later. I think there's such a marked difference in his minutes versus the other guys right now. And again, each has had moments and decent games, and Thompson played well last game. I just think Williams' minutes, the Celtics have been at their best when he's on the floor almost every single time. Eventually you'll just see it, and that's just going to be the reality. You know, I understand there's still some residual concern over some of the stuff that he'd done in the past or some things that you think he doesn't do well, but they're just a better team with him on the court.
But like you've been saying, it hasn't been that long since the playoffs, right? It's been a couple of months. What could have possibly changed to this extent for him to go from DNP-CD in meaningful, the most meaningful games of the season when they needed productivity from that position?
I don't know.
From DNP-CD to this guy needs to be starting and playing 25 to 30 minutes a game. Like, how do you go from that in the span of 6 games? We're talking like 6 games here in 2 months.
I don't know, Jimmy. I don't know if it's a focus thing. I don't know if you guys see anything. He looks clearly more focused. He looks like the little things that would sometimes get lost
before the preseason. And then we were like, after those 2 games, we were like, you guys see anything special with Rob? You know, it's sort of like, show me what you've been talking about. Remember he mentioned
all of it, the playmaking, the rim running.
The media day. He was talking about
Al Horford. Overall court savvy is better.
Something clicked. I don't know.
Defensively, how many? And again, he had 4 blocks tonight, but he alters so many. Again, he's going to get beat sometimes, but he changes a lot on both ends of the floor. It's been amazing. My second question I want to ask is, and this will light up the chat board, and everyone's going to freak out and say no, because as soon as you have something, you want to hold on to it forever. But does Rob Williams all of a sudden have trade value?
Yes.
Because if you're looking, look, this is Danny's game. You gotta have some young assets. You want to be able to roll things up. You want to package things together. You take your TPE and maybe a talented younger player or two. Last year, everyone was saying, "Oh, you'll have to include Romeo in a trade," and then Romeo, you don't have a chance to showcase Romeo. So Romeo's nothing but a potentially busted lottery pick until you see him do something. So right now, if Williams keeps playing like this, does he become an asset, and does he become somebody you start talking about dangling?
He does this year, and I'll tell you why. Other than him, I mean, we already know, based on how Brad talks about Nesmith, there's not going to be a whole lot of value there this year. I'm not saying that he's not going to ever have value, but if you want to add someone to this TPE, and I know everybody out there, every Celtics fan thinks that they can get, the next James Harden in it with it, you do need to add assets to that. It's not going to be Romeo because he can't get on the court. There's no value there. And all of a sudden you have this, versatile, you have this center, this athletic center who can block shots, and, he can go get up at the rim, and, he's all of a sudden the most energetic guy in the court. Yeah. Does he have that much value this second? No. But if he continues at this pace for the next month and a half, absolutely he has value. I'm not saying go ahead and trade him, for the next, available guy in a trade, but absolutely he is now your most, and here's the key word, tradable asset, right? It's tradable asset. You obviously have assets in Tatum and Brown and Smart, and if whether or not your opinion on Smart means he's tradable or not, but Robert Williams is a tradable asset, or he becomes one.
One of these centers, and we talked about Tice's value a little bit yesterday, they're so packed at the position right now, and even think of Grant being the fourth man in line there, if you consider him a center. They have a ton there, and they have a ton to offer in terms of those guys. They're all on good contracts in terms of what other teams would want to see from production there. In fact, Tristan probably has the worst contract of the group there, but there's still a ton of upside.
Bobby.
This is the kind of center other teams want. You see a guy like Clint Capella, what kind of value he got.
That's very much like player. That. Yes.
So there's a lot to love here if you have the teams. I guess the only thing I'll say is that 26 teams passed on him in the draft. So, other teams have that.
How many teams passed on Pritchard?
Christian Wood was passed up by everybody and released, and now he just signed a $40 million deal.
Yeah, but I mean, what Robert Williams was, on draft night was out there. And I think we all got thrilled when the Celtics picked him. If we talk about another draft night, there weren't many boos out there that night because we knew
at that spot in the draft.
Yeah, we knew what he was made of. All the downsides were there too.
Rob Williams, 2 firsts in the TPE for Harden. Who says no? Just kidding.
Houston Rockets.
Everybody relax. Everybody relax.
Immediately they would say no.
Everyone.
Yeah, he's not there yet.
I don't think
he's
Rob
not there yet.
I don't think Rob goes because you still it's tricky now because Tristan's here. So you've built up some sort of long-term situation with Tristan. But in last year when it was Tice, when it was Robert and Grant, I still said, who's going to be that long-term player at center? And it looked like Rob was still heading in that direction. You only realistically need one, and then you can fill out the other one with role guys or, draft another guy like that. You're not going to pay multiple guys long-term. So someone's moving this year. Is it Tice? Is it Rob?
Maybe not. But again, now you're talking about you need something. You need something to sweep.
They need a wing.
If you're talking about Grant.
Yeah, but I think if you just strip away Robert Williams, though, you're taking away a lot from that front court, a lot of size, and obviously we don't know what the next offseason is going to be.
You're doing it to improve somewhere else. It's just theoretical. It's just whether or not he has value, not whether it's a move worth making because you don't know the other side of it.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves. I mean, Robert Williams has still not really shown anything, on a one-on-one situation, nowhere near where he needs to be in terms of star level or anything like that. The question is whether or not you can potentially go from getting nothing with the TPE to getting maybe something if you added him. I think
Clint Capella is a phenomenal comp in terms of the type of player someone might think they could be getting in Williams.
Yeah, and he's thankfully staying healthy the last year or so.
Right.
Ever since that huge hip injury that knocked him out.
Capella's the guy that people wanted, So I think that's an excellent comp. Again, we
what was that gravity stat?
Let's move on to our boy Peyton again.
Pritchard
kid.
So he kind of got this game going in the second again. It was very similar to the fourth and against Indiana. He got out there with some of the starters. Rob was out there as well, and they just started gunning it. And I think Tice was in there at the beginning of that stretch. You saw him carving out that space and finding him underneath. Hit Tice a couple times for baskets down there. This passing, this dribbling into good positions for teammates, still shining so bright with him. And he's a run starter the last 2 nights. He turned games that were kind of close at those periods of time into blowouts. And, with him manning that bench unit, we might be able to start to talk about the Celtics bench as a strength on the team.
And so I want to bring it up again because everyone's obsessed with starters. And again, we know that doesn't necessarily matter, but trying to limit that too big lineup. We did talk about theoretically them going to 3 guards, and they did tonight with Teague moving in. And I could argue Pritchard ahead of Teague in that situation, though I actually thought Teague played well, in his minutes too. But Pritchard just obviously is a more dynamic all around, player right now than
point guard. Yeah, guard. Yeah. No, you know what I like? I like them in the second quarter together. I think it was
they played together. Yeah.
Yeah. I think Teague and Pritchard together in that second quarter That's when you saw the defensive side of Teague. And then you also saw a bit of the playmaking side, right? He was looking for guys in the paint. He had a couple of nifty passes in the paint, or crafty, if you will, Jimmy. Teague was a little crafty.
Yeah. Easy with that, though. Easy with that word.
Like I like those two together. But to your point, for someone that you need as a floor general, yeah, or to control the offense, secondary playmaker, if he's a starter, Pritchard's looking good, man. He's checking those boxes as a point guard that the Celtics certainly need right now.
Don't put him in the starting lineup.
Without
Don't do that to him. I know somebody in our group chat, I think it was John, said maybe toss Haas in the starting lineup. That's a little bit forced, overkill, putting him in a position.
I think I said it on the air last night.
Now it's like you're expecting something more out of him. Where right now it's kind of like you're pleasantly surprised and you're happy with the production you're getting. But now you're putting him in the starting lineup, and
yeah,
I don't know if
Jimmy, I overreact to everything. Okay.
No, I know. Yeah.
The good and the bad. Okay.
That's why he's in the top left.
Insanity level.
Down earth.
I'm gonna go, man. John's gonna start talking about all-star. I
overreact to everything. Okay.
I'll say this about Pritchard.
That's a good quality to have.
This is why I think it's important to have him on the bench.
Good and bad. I'm not all negative. I'm like,
yeah, I'm gonna say Williams off the board. Yeah.
I think
3 days ago. How bad is it that Pritchard is their fourth best
player? That was Joe Sway.
He should start.
I love him.
He should start. But yeah, that was me though. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm gonna say this about him. What's important for him at some point to get to, and he's played quite a bit with Tatum and Brown in rotation here. If he can get those guys a few breathers per game, running some units, playing some point with those guys, keeping them alive, which is what I think he's starting to show to do, especially in that second quarter against Indiana. Indiana was going on these runs against Boston. He would hit shots or find guys and just give them those pacing buckets to stay ahead, even if it's a 1-point game. You're not losing the lead. You're not falling behind by multiple possessions when the benches are in the game there. And that's so important because how often is Tatum, especially during the regular season, going to be going 40 minutes like we saw in that second Indiana game? You want to limit that. And, Pritchard early on has shown the ability to man these second units. And, all of a sudden, maybe Tatum doesn't have to be out there with the second unit every time like he has been. Maybe Brown can mix in there a little bit, play off of him. Or you can have neither of them and get both of them the rest in some circumstances. But limiting the amount of strain on Brown, Tatum for the length of the 72-game stretch is going to be important. I mean, we thought Tatum might rest tonight. He's out there rolling again.
I thought the thumb was bogus. That was just an excuse to have him not play.
Yeah,
I said that on the pregame, and he's out there rolling. And that's a good thing about these guys, Brown especially. They just shake off these injuries when they do get them.
Because they're all 19.
Yep, they're able to play the big minutes. Like, it's so important.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about them.
They'll never not be 19.
I'm not worried about the time, their minutes out there. I don't know. But to your point,
I'll tell you what I am worried.
You don't want them getting closer to 40 minutes, but
yeah.
Tatum was close last night.
Only injury report I was very concerned about seeing was Javonte Green. Because is that a COVID situation? Is that like the entire team like possibly?
I think it's something in that it could be a wide spectrum of things. Yeah,
that could be he had the sniffles. That could be somebody he knows got sick and went into a test. I think. Yeah, They had this. If it's a positive test, there's no way everyone else can take the court because of close contact. So I highly doubt that's what happened.
Yeah, you're talking about two things here. Either an inconclusive test, which again, like John said, if that was the scenario, they'd probably be holding off this game for a little bit. Maybe he got left behind in Indiana. That's a possibility. But Syracuse this year.
Forever?
Yeah. We'll see in the next plane ride.
This happened with Syracuse this year. They do the contact tracing so extensively that guys who even come into contact with positive cases can get left out of action for some amount of time. So that's a possibility here too, depending on how the NBA does it. But with the whole health thing, they're not letting out a lot about this, and they call it the health report to even just stay away from that COVID term. So who knows? It could be a million different things.
Yeah,
right.
They don't want to say the trigger word. You don't want to say it, get everybody all in a tizzy.
No, but John's right. If there was like a real risk he had COVID yesterday or 2 days, it was yesterday.
Right.
They're probably not playing this game.
Well, you saw what happened with Houston. I mean, they took all those precautions, and Wall sat, and every single guard sat. It looked like so. Not every guard, but
he was live tweeting this game. What did he say? I think he said 40 piece or something for Brown. It was funny. He was live tweeting from wherever he is.
Who was?
Javante.
Really?
Yeah. So who knows where he is? But he was excited about Brown's 40 points.
Well, he's in good spirits at least. Pritchard, Smart, Brown, Tatum, Williams could be a very effective straight line.
I love Green. Like, he's a fun personality. We know how close he is to Tatum. Like, I'm obviously we want to see something big happen over the offseason, but I'm kind of glad he's back here. He's a cool story.
Whoa.
Yeah. Let's quickly talk. I got a comment here on Neesmith.
Road to the NBA.
Extremely small sample size tonight, but at least he got on the court a little bit. I did like that one step back three, real quick release. That was a taste of what you can see there. He's still, I was getting so annoyed. I said we wasn't going to mention this guy's name either, Carson Edwards. You
did say, yeah. Come on.
I did, but I was getting so annoyed with Carson Edwards out there. He's like just treating it like friggin' Vegas League. The first 8 times he gets the ball, he just starts jacking him. I'm like, I was like, this is again where could Brad just say like, hey, I got to get the Rook some shots here. So get
Purdue again.
Neesmith didn't touch the ball for the first 7 minutes he was in.
It's the Cleveland curse, man. He's like, I have to do it again. That's the only way they'll let me stay. I have to do it again. I think he's hoping he can do 4 threes in 5 minutes, or whatever he can do to make headway, so he can, whether it's Boston or somewhere else. Hey, that's the kid that did the 3-point thing, right? 2 years in a row.
If I'm Edwards, I'm doing the same thing. When I get my few minutes in a blowout, I'm putting up shots, and especially if they're going in, you damn well better believe I'm taking another one the next time down. So
yeah,
Neesmith will get there at some point, but I mean, it was good that he got a little bit of burn tonight. Like you said, John, the quick release, that's what you want to see. I mean, that's the reason they drafted him, right? Because they saw that Edwards looked better than Neesmith. He did look better than Neesmith tonight. They should just release Neesmith then.
Yeah.
Neesmith's in a tough spot. Like, we still look at it, and I know he got the run tonight, but he's so far away from joining this rotation, it feels like. And we're gonna keep asking the question. We're gonna keep wondering.
But there's so many games, Bobby. That's where I think it's gonna help. Like, tonight felt like a night. I mean, geez, we were talking about if Tatum sat. Some people were, there was a massive swell of start Neesmith support on Twitter, thinking the Celtics might go with half their lineup tonight. So there will be games. You've got a lot of tight schedules where you're going to have to
injuries too. Yeah. COVID situations.
There'll be trial by fire at some point. But what you just want to see is 8 to 10 minutes a game, little spark, just get some shots up. You got to get in the flow a little bit. I don't want to see, what you don't want to see is garbage minutes only, Yeah. He's got to get a little battle tested, even in small doses.
I mean, if Twitter wants,
that's what I would like. I assume, obviously, we trust that Brad knows what he's doing, but I mean, that's what you want as a fan and as a person who wants to see people who impatiently want to see a first-round pick develop or just see what they've got in that person. We all want to see that. I don't know if he's ready for it or not, but we want to see little doses of him along the way, not just this garbage time competing for shots with Carson Edwards bullshit. Nothing gets accomplished there.
But we got more
that nobody asked for.
It's on the docket,
I mean, if Twitter thinks that Neesmith should start, then I mean, Brad should probably listen to Twitter, because they were right on Yabusele. I mean, they would have started Yabusele every damn game of his career if it was up on Twitter. So. I mean, if they want Neesmith to start, then
I don't know if this was meant to be a compliment for Neesmith, but it isn't.
Yeah, that's not. I don't think that's even. I don't think that's even close.
Not a compliment.
Well, without the injuries.
I don't even know what it means.
Yeah, what does that even mean? Now I'm looking at the other side of it. I'm like, wait a minute.
Zach, try again.
You got unlimited tries down there.
I get it. Like, you could trust Romeo in spurts last year, and in fact, and it was mainly because defensively he was solid, above all else. But
sorry everything about this game tonight so hard to take away. And what are we looking at again now with this Grizzlies team? The same thing that happened with the Kings pick. One year they're like a pretty competent mid-level team that gives the Celtics 14 that
And
becomes
this team is in
Romeo Langford.
trouble right now.
Last year they're excellent with John Moran, and this team looks like the worst team in the league right now until further notice. So look out, the Grizzlies are going to be taking their own lottery pick this year if this keeps rolling.
To answer this
I
question,
still like their lineup. I still like the players they have, though. I mean, they get some
Grayson
good young
Allen,
players.
Tyus Jones, Kyle
I
Anderson.
hate Grayson Allen. I mean, aside
You
from
need a
him,
couple people back though.
the one thing I like about Grayson Allen is every time the
I like
Celtics
Grayson
play them, I assume he and Marcus Smart have a 50% chance of fighting. So like I always kind of look forward to that.
He got hurt tonight too. He went down.
Got hurt.
That's a good call, John. Those two are destined to go into a playoff series against each other. Yeah, it'll be wild.
I'll say too.
Dude.
Looking at the lineup, Desmond Bain, pretty good
Grayson
game.
Allen is. I don't know if there's any Game of Thrones fans in here, but Grayson Allen is Joffrey. Like he is literally Joffrey, and you just want to punch him in the face.
Yeah.
Bob, are you picking this up or?
What's that?
Game of Thrones?
Nope.
Me neither.
I'm out
Game of
on that
Thrones.
I
one.
got no idea what that means. Nothing.
You gonna watch Game of Thrones, John? You watched Game of Thrones.
Jimmy, I'm gonna one up you. I've read all the books twice.
No,
Oh, you're the
wow.
book guy. You're
I'm
the
that
book guy?
I'm that nerd.
So were you flipping through the pages in season 8? This never happened. None of this happened.
yeah, he like dissects the movie. I mean,
I
I was
was
like,
the
this
guy-
doesn't match up at all.
I was the guy you didn't want to talk to after season 4
I'm glad I didn't. I'm very glad I didn't.
when they just started making shit up.
Jimmy, I gave it.
And I was like,
first
done.
episode. Fell asleep
I
twice.
said this could be a new podcast, John and Jimmy talking Thrones.
There
Well,
was
I
a
would say
couple
one-
fun podcasts about Game of Thrones. Actually, there was one guy who had read the books. No one's going to understand the reference, but that was his angle. Was kind of like, I'll tell you how close they came and what worked and what representation. And that was kind of his shtick there. But yeah,
Very.
I was the
niche
guy in the
podcast.
office to be like, yeah, it was close to the book. I was that annoying guy.
Yeah. Oh, I did the opposite. I binged all 7 seasons like before season. I had never watched it, and I was so pumped for season 8. And I was like, I can't believe I just wasted like a month straight of my life. Like I was cooking in the kitchen and like watching on my iPad, trying to make sure I caught up in time. All for like the worst ending of all time. But anyways,
It was pretty bad. All right, guys, we're gonna wrap it up. I gotta
needless
tell
to say, we're
everybody
digressing.
about our situation here involving
LinkedIn.
our sponsor. Of course, everybody needs jobs. Everybody likes jobs. LinkedIn's a good place to go
Jobs
there.
report. Yeah.
LinkedIn's
Jobs
helping us
report's still
already.
Showing a lot of people could use a job.
So
I will say this before you read it. We already got a couple LinkedIn submissions to Bobby and Josue. Keep them coming if you're interested in being an intern.
this is true.
Josue is taking
That's the
all
power of
applications.
LinkedIn.
Well, I will say this: college students preferred.
It's kind of obvious, so they know I just didn't.
Journalism and communications majors, but we are accepting interns for the spring semester. Celtic specific interns. Anyone who wants to work on this show.
Yeah, guys or girls.
Anyone who wants to.
The holidays. Maybe I'll get back to you. Sorry about that.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of games. There's a lot of action. But let me just tell you guys about LinkedIn here. New Year's here. Fresh start on your small business, or if you're shifting business hours, trying to hire remote employees, get a job. LinkedIn, obviously, the place to go. Active community of professionals with more than 722 million members worldwide. Getting started here easier than ever. New features to help you find qualified candidates quickly, or again, to find a job.
Find a job, find an employee.
Anything you want to do here, you can do it all from your mobile device. So here's what we call a call to action in the business. You go to linkedin.com/scribe, SCRIBE, scribe, and get $50 off your first job post. It's linkedin.com/scribe to get $50 off your first job post.
A lot of sales guys on LinkedIn.
Detroit,
a lot of sales
worth
guys.
$50. No one's going to get that reference, but
I don't get it.
it's trading places. Bo Diddley in the pawn shop. I'm dating myself. It's pretty.
Still don't get it.
Yeah, that's all right.
Here's something I need to see though. It's up there.
Trading Places is a phenomenal movie.
It's like 4 or 5 movies that you constantly hear. You guys see. Yeah, that's one of them. I always hear that one.
Yeah, I mean, early Eddie Murphy. The dude's like 23 and like the biggest star on the planet. You know, he was unreal. He was 21 years old when he did 48 Hours. He's like 20 on Saturday Night Live.
Coming to America.
Coming to America. Who's coming up?
The biggest star on the planet. He was like 24 years old. It was unbelievable. How young he was and how talented he was in those early trading. Trading Places is a must watch. Anyway,
Coming America, the classic though. Wow, that actually
all of it.
Washington football team coming to fruition after that was one of the funniest things ever.
Yeah. So we're gonna wrap.
I'm
it,
more
guys.
of a like the Nutty Professor Eddie Murphy type guy.
Yeah, the early stuff was unreal. Anyway, it's all good. We're gonna wrap it up. We got more games coming up, but this is our last game of 2020. We freaking made it. So thank you to everybody who stuck with us through this stuff. It was a crazy year.
When did we start? We were like, July, August, we got this going. So
Yeah.
half the year we were rolling.
Yeah. So, I mean, not only the momentum on the show, but CLNS Media and what we're trying to do and bring to the viewers at home here, covering the Celtics, covering the Patriots, all of our podcasts, all of our content. There's only going to be more in the new year. So we're honestly just getting started. The Celtics season's just getting started. This show is really just getting started. So we're going to keep it rolling into the new year and beyond. So tell your friends, subscribe to our YouTube channels. Go there after the games. You're going to see post-game press conferences, more video mashups. There'll be stuff going on throughout the week. Patriots coverage too, if you're into that stuff. The Celtics, we have our own Celtics YouTube channel in addition to our main channel where you can get all the goods here. So subscribe to all of those. Send your resumes to Bobby Manning directly. Celtics, if you want to work on the Celtics broadcast, we would love to have you. But again, thanks for watching. For Jimmy Toscano, Josue Pavone, guys, Happy New Year message for everybody. You got anything?
Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year, guys.
New Year's.
We will see you on New Year's, right? Detroit, January 1st.
Right back at it, day one.
Right back at it.
Detroit.